Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Timmy Gibson here with you for just a little bit of a follow-up to the last video I did on allowing yourself time to heal, and the main title was Life After Divorce. And maybe you have recently gone through a divorce. Maybe you're in the midst of a divorce. Maybe you're going to be going through a divorce. And I can empathize and sympathize, having gone through one myself and dealing with the grief, dealing with the loss, dealing with all the different things that you go through, all the different emotions. That's why I did that first video, is just to kind of just give you a little bit of an encouraging word, maybe just to give you a little bit of hope that there is life after divorce, even when it's an amicable divorce, and even when it's a really maybe a nasty divorce, which my heart goes out to those that face that. I didn't go through one of those, but I have friends that have gone through divorces where the lawyers are involved and it's a really nasty deal. But I don't want to talk about all that. That's either, I kind of want to talk about post divorce, meaning after the fact. Even though I could maybe do a video on kind of how to go through one and maintain your sanity, but that'll be another video. So kind of just life after divorce. One of the most important things that I already mentioned in the other video, which is allowing yourself time and space to heal. Okay. But with that, what you do in the meantime is absolutely critical. I personally chose not to do anything that would mask whatever emotions that I was feeling. In other words, I didn't, and to each his own, no judgment, but, I didn't want to go on, Xanax or whatever. I didn't want to go on some kind of pill to help me deal. I wanted to just face head on every emotion, every high, every low, all of it. And mostly it was low. I can laugh about it now, kind of, right? I mean, it was the darkest, most painful thing I've ever been through in my life. So again, if you're going through a divorce or you're just post-divorce, my hat's off to you. I know it's tough on everyone. My sympathy is literally for everyone. Both the husband and the wife are ex. I mean, it's difficult on everybody. It's difficult on the children. So my heart goes out, and even in my particular situation where I'm the one to blame, so to speak. It's in other words, it's like what's that phrase people say? You make your bed, now you got to lie in it. It's some problems are from outside in, some problems come from within, and so that's another video altogether. There is life after death. There is hope, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel, if you will. And so, what do you do after divorce? Well, that's what matters. That's where the rubber meets the road, is what do you do? What do you do after divorce? So there's a couple things that I really, really believe in, and, maybe you disagree, and that's fine. Feel free to comment whatever you want to with your experience and what you've learned. But there's a couple things that I think that's really critical. One, don't make any major decisions right after a divorce, and that even goes with don't even make any major decisions with dating anyone. It's okay to date casually if you choose to, right? You don't want to isolate yourself. But I would not get serious with anyone, number one. Number two, I wouldn't make any major life decisions, like big ones, right, post-divorce. Give yourself some space and some time to breathe. limit anything, in my opinion. I would say limit any, chemicals that would help help band-aid your emotions, right? I wouldn't drink excessively at all, a little bit just because you might enjoy it. That's one thing, but I wouldn't do a lot of drinking to subdue it. I wouldn't do, any kind of drugs. In my opinion, this is just my opinion. I wouldn't do anything that you didn't have to do. Now, sometimes you have jobs and maybe you have to perform at a level that you can't have the wild emotions during that time. Oh my goodness. If I could turn the camera around, I would. That's huge, big snowflakes falling outside my window here. It's so pretty. Anyway, so no major decisions. Limit your substances, the mind-altering substances. Limit those as much as possible. Surround yourself with good friends that you can call, that you can, that can give you wise counsel. And then the one big thing that I do recommend is to see a counselor. People. Some people have a stigma or whatever therapy, but it's extremely helpful. Going to counseling really, really, really helped me. Really helped me to deal with the pain and the grief of the loss, and to maintain my sanity, because that's part of it. Is you feel like it's the end of the world. You feel like you can't hardly breathe. You feel like it's all over, and you feel like no one will ever love you. I mean, you feel there's all these things that you feel, and I understand all of those feelings. I felt all of those same feelings, and it's tough. And so I would say this every day: get up out of bed and push forward. So there's something that I did. Maybe if you're interested in what it is, comment, and I'll make a comment, or I'll post it in the description. Maybe that'd be easier. Anyway, I needed positive affirmation morning, noon, and night in order for me to just maintain my sanity. So I every morning woke up and did about a 30-minute positive affirmation recording on my phone. It was actually through YouTube. And sometimes throughout the day I would do it when I was driving, and then at night as I went to bed I would do that. And there's wave of emotions that you have, and sometimes I'd wake up and I felt somewhat euphoric. And then there were other mornings I'd wake up and I felt like literally life as I know it was over. And I couldn't hardly even breathe, and I didn't want to get out of bed. And then other days I was doing fine, and I would hear some commercial on the radio, or someone would say something, and it just sent me right back down to whatever. And that went on for I don't know how long it's supposed to go on, but for a good 6 months I was pretty volatile. Like, I could be fine, someone would say something, and I'd bust into tears and sob like a baby. And then other times I would wake up in the middle of the night and in panic, like all different kinds of emotions. And again, I'm describing stuff. Hopefully it's not, reawakening or making you revisit all the emotions that you went through. But, I wanted to face those emotions head on. I just, for me, this is me. You do you. This is me, what I did. So I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you what I did. Does that make sense? Don't take my advice unless it resonates with you. I wanted to just embrace the feelings. And one of the things I learned in counseling was my counselor said, sorry, that was probably really loud. My counselor said that, when you feel like crying, Timmy, if you're in an environment where you can cry, in other words, if you're at home and you want to cry, then cry, just do it. And if you can't cry, if you can get yourself to a place where you can cry. And I remember one time I was driving down the road and a song came on the radio and I lost it. Snot running out of my nose. I could hardly breathe. I was crying so hard. And I want to say something just right here in the middle. I'm not saying all this like I'm the victim. I am not the victim here. I'm just telling you my story. Does that make sense? I don't want anybody, don't think poor Timmy. No, poor nothing. I got myself into this mess, and now I'm dealing with the consequences of my poor decisions. So I'm in a growth phase right now where I'm learning and growing from my past and from the decisions that I've made. I'm learning and I'm processing those. And, the one unique situation, I think, I don't want to talk about that. It's important to recognize the error of your ways. That's really, really important in any relationship. So post-divorce, dig into, this is why I say you need space and time to heal, because you need to figure out, how did you contribute to the demise of your relationship? How did you contribute to it? And I don't care what side of the coin you're on in a relationship, both people have some part of it to own. I would say never is probably that's a pretty big word, but even my counselor said, Timmy, never is a relationship always the fault of just one person. A divorce is never just one person's fault. There's blame to go around. He said, even if it's a 90% to 10%, he said, there's at least 10% on the other person's side, no matter what the situation is. So I don't know whatever side you're on, maybe it's very easy for you to see how you made mistakes, and maybe it's not clear for you. Maybe you're like, nope, it was all her. 100% it was all her. I was perfect. They weren't. That's ignorant. That's ignorant. Very ignorant, actually. So what's your 1%? What's your 10%? What's your 20%? Whatever. What part did you play? And so that's a and don't be one of those people that says, well, my part to play was I was just too nice. I really struggle when people say that kind of crap. Because to me, that's not self-aware, that's not honest, that's not being vulnerable, that's not being humble, that's not humility at all. To say, you know what, I was just too good. That was my problem. I was too forgiving and too good. Okay, Mr. Perfect. No one's perfect. We all have our shit. So I think in that space and time, the reason I say don't overdo it on the substances, because you want to be able to really think about and turn inward and be reflective and look into your own heart, your own soul, your own mind, your own whatever, and really figure out what can you learn from this divorce? What can you learn? And why does that matter? Well, I think life is all about growth. I mean, you want to grow and be better. That's just it, right? We all want to grow and be better. So whether you ever reconcile with your ex or you move on to someone else at some point, you want to bring that person your best, right? You want to be the best version of yourself. You don't want to be the old fucker that fucked everything up. You don't want to be that person. You want to be this newer, upgraded, expanded, more mature person than you were before, right? That's what's important. So that's why it's so critically important that you don't just jump into another relationship, or you don't just jump into, or numb all your feelings. And I'll be honest, and I really, please don't take me wrong on this. But I don't, I've talked to people that, they got divorced 10 years ago and it seems like it happened yesterday and they're still bitter and jaded. I feel, if I'm judging, I'm sorry, but there's a part of me that's just like, I mean, at some point, like you should if someone broke a leg and it was 10 years ago and the bone is still protruding from the leg, it'd be like, who's your doctor? Like, who'd you go to fix that? Like, maybe should have go to someone else that knows how to fix that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like our emotional and our physical is much the same, meaning time alone doesn't heal. Time alone doesn't heal, but the proper care and time heals, right? In other words, if you break your leg, compound fracture, and the bone's coming out of your leg, you can't just like, well, I'll just lay in bed for 6 months and that'll heal up. No, like you got to pop the bone back in there and set it and put screws in it. And I mean, like there's a process with time. The process plus time equals healing. So I think it's the same thing emotionally. Well, I don't think. I totally believe that it is. That if you go through a divorce, you need to allow yourself time, yes, but proper care, proper information, proper counseling, proper, whatever you're doing is critically important in the healing process. So when people say they were divorced 10 years ago and they still seem very touchy and they don't trust and they're jaded and they're bitter and they're still hating their ex, and like that's not good. I don't know how else to say it, but that's not good. And so you need to be moving and progressing with your healing. And so if you do it right, you can be healed of whatever damage you did in the divorce or how you contributed to the divorce or whatever, wherever that is. Like you can move past that and through that. It's the same thing with the death of a loved one. When you talk to people that have lost a loved one and they're coping and they're dealing and they're handling it, and it happened 5 years ago and they seem to be healthy. And there's other people that you talk to and it's like it happened last week. They're still just stricken with grief and just can't hardly function and riddled with anxiety and all that. And it's like, man, what are you doing for your healing? What are you doing to recover from that trauma or that loss or that grief? You've got to give yourself space to do it and make sure you're reading books that are helpful, you're watching videos that are helpful, you're talking to friends that's helpful, you're seeing a counselor if that's necessary, which I would say it is. I think it's important to at least do a few sessions. You don't have to go for a year or whatever, but if you at least go for 3 sessions just to kind of talk through your shit, just to kind of talk through it. Again, it'd be like breaking your leg and never going to the doctor. It just doesn't make sense to me how you could break some of your emotional stuff and then never seek professional help to kind of just put those pieces back together again and to walk that walk. There's an ancient text that says every man's right in his own sight. We can get so in our own head and we think we're all right, we're fine, everybody else is wrong, I'm okay. That's for someone else, that's for someone else. And I think you're just fooling yourself, and that's the worst of all. The first step in any kind of a healing process is an awareness that you are broken. And it's like right now in my particular situation, I'm very aware that my heart is still broken, in the sense of like, if nothing else, maybe the pieces have kind of been put together, but if you could see my heart, you could see the stitches, like you could see where it was torn and ripped, and you know what I mean? So, the healing process has begun, but I'm still in process. I would say I'm still fragile in certain areas, right? And so, I'm still on that healing journey. I'm still reading books. I'm still watching seminars. I'm still doing everything I can to give my best, to give myself the best chance of, fully recovering and being completely healthy, and to get on stable ground. Does that make sense? All right. I hope this video was helpful. Make lots of comments if you would. Share your story if you'd like to, ask questions, and I'll address those if I can, and I'll keep these videos coming. And I want to end with this. Hey, listen, There is life after divorce. I promise, if you do the right things, you will be okay. You will make it. You will find love again. You are lovable, and just keep your head up, keep trucking forward, and better days are coming. I promise you, better days are coming. Peace.